versus Parabellum. Let's see if Mirage can get it done, or if PB is going to be able to lock in another victory of their own and break the tied record they currently have, as you can see there, at 3-3. It's number 9 versus number 10 in the league currently as we go live.
All right, Parabellum is going to be removing, well, we really don't know yet, but Mirage will take out Maverick, at least for our initial offensive ban, so hampering the hard breach in a certain way, and the Thatcher is going to double down on that aspect. Haven't had a sky like this in quite some time, so it should be pretty interesting. This is definitely going to slow down the offensive play quite a bit. I'm really worried about kind of that central hallway we've been talking about a lot whenever we do talk about Skyscraper right now with like Terrace, Drum, and you know, Shrine, stuff like that. You're really going to have to be worried about how the offense is going to be able to work their way through with the minimal utility that they now have when it comes to breaching. Kaid going to be removed as well. Nice little respect to the ban there just because the Thatcher was removed. Then Azami to round it off. I bet everyone's so very surprised by that.
Yeah, no real unexpected bans coming out here for our first map of the day. It's nothing too crazy to talk about there. We'll get past that pretty quickly and move into our first round, our first defense as well, of course, for Mirage, who's going to be starting on the defensive side this time. This is where they picked up the large majority of their rounds when they played against Beast Coast in their matchup from the last Playday. Managed to win, I believe, 5 rounds inside of that side and only closed out 2 of their attacking rounds that were needed to be able to get the dub for them. So let's see, once again, if they're going to be looking to find that here today, or if they may find some presence on the attacking side as well.
All right, so T is going to be the very first stop on our defensive side by Mirage, and this could make for a pretty interesting round 1. It really just depends on how Parabellum wants to do this. We've been seeing a lot of teams start from the east and work their way across towards the west side, and that's when you run into what we were talking about in kind of our pre-game there, this central area where you got to deal with Terrace and Drum and everything else in between. The defense likes to set up a lot of different parameters around here, deployable shields, you know, Wamai discs, the whole 9 yards. And then when it comes down to other aspects of the way that the offense can handle this, we can also see them go for a Black Stairs push or maybe a Geisha push as well that's more, you know, centralized around where the site is. You don't have to go for that full top clear. That ends up taking quite some time if you're not able to, you know, really batten down the hatches early on inside of the round. So we'll see how Parabellum wants to try and answer this. Mirage is going to be starting all the way over on the house stairs with none other than Benji on the Goyo.
It's a bit of a slow crawl here for the PB members. They do want to be careful of any aggressive tendencies that may come out from Mirage in these opening moments. Need to get a couple of the initial walls prepped open as well, so you'll see Eska as well as Kool-Aid working together there to quickly pop open the first of the second floor walls and give the team a bit more interior access. Not going to actually push for it yet. Still need to bleed a few players out of these more hardcore positions, and that's what they're doing now with the utility you're seeing from Blaz and a few of the other players on PB.
Yes, indeed. And as we're getting more of a picture of this overall, this top floor is so convoluted for the offense to work through. You can see the reinforcements that Mirage have set up to kind of split the site, or rather the top floor, in half. Make it really difficult to try and work like Shrine side and all that kind of stuff. There's just no real crosses for Parabellum to be able to try and abuse, and instead they're going to have to try and find a different entry point on this top floor. But they've just now gotten the office wall open, Blue. There's 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock. We're about halfway through this round. We've got nobody in the building.
Still some time for the team to be able to put the right foot forward here. We've got quite a few members of Mirage out and about as well. Yeah, Benji finally going to get tripped up there. He'll be eliminated. A second member of the squad going down pretty much immediately afterwards with Kento being found out. Yes, there was a concern for time previously, but Parabellum probably not panicking about it too much, considering they knew they had members of Mirage close to them, and now that they've been able to kill them, things are much more palatable as we enter the final 1 minute and 15 seconds of play.
Oh, very disappointing round for Mirage there. Such a large build-up to this moment where it can be the make or break, and they give over 2 bodies. Just go looking for PB, and they find exactly what they thought was there, and it happens to be a barrel of a gun. Parabellum will take down 2. Looking for the third onto Marm. It's a frag grenade, though, to take her out, not the weaponry. Nice little toss there by Parabellum as they're dismantling Mirage here, taking their time, but finally somebody has something to do up against the offense. Next, he'll take down Penguin. So he's got quite a few angles that actually end up lining up through T, but he's going to get taken down as well, and it's going to leave it all up to Melted, who will quickly be removed on the main stairwell, and that's going to be a Parabellum round. I got to say, Blue, I'm really disappointed with the way we saw that mid-round go from Mirage. You really want them to lean into that patience game that they already were initially, but they just go too far and end up losing too many bodies that allow Parabellum to work into the building and start taking as many gunfights as they really want. They're up in man count, and they're not going to get punished for it.
Yeah, while there is a time delay element to it that you brought up at one point there, it doesn't really lead to a whole lot when both players that are involved in that delay end up getting knocked out there. So all of that, you know, time being wasted as Parabellum set themselves up to get into the building, that was more than anything just setting themselves up to eliminate both of those players. As you saw some great coordination, more so to take out the utility, but that all bled together into knocking out those two, where Parabellum was never really out of control of the situation, it seemed here. Mirage gonna make a pretty dramatic shift in their site change now as we head into the second round, as instead of going to the other side of the second floor where we've seen most teams play into here, they're gonna go downstairs in a barbecue next.
Yes, indeed, and that's always gonna be a situation where you want to see the player play out the time instead of going for the kill. You might end up getting the kill in that situation anyways, but you know, if Parabellum's gonna take an extra 25 seconds to clear out your location, let them do that. It's gonna make it to where the timer is not working in their favor, the defense can calm down, your site players have a breath of fresh air because they know they don't have to try and make such a grand stand like they would in a traditional round. So very unfortunate for Mirage. They're definitely going to want to go back and look through that and see if they can possibly fix some things in the future. But they got a lot bigger fish to fry at the current moment with round 2 already loaded up. And us going to BBQ, Parabellum are going to be looking to take this top floor and try and abuse as many of these angles with Eska as humanly possible.
As we saw before, Mirage do have a bit of an extension up here playing into the previous round sites, just as an extension to trying to lay out time, just like we saw in the previous round. How effective that'll be, we have to wait and see, though, as Parabellum has only just now begun their clear from the office side, working their way over from there. A little bit of resistance from Mirage going to be prepped in areas like Drum, as well as the drop down just behind that. So lots of resistance still to be thrown out here, but at the same time, Parabellum is doing double duty, clearing out both the first and second floor kind of consecutively here, since there is no notable extension from Mirage on the horizontal plane.
Love this from Parabellum. They realize that Mirage has kind of split the building in half, so they're just going to set it like that. They're going to get the air jabs in down low and make it to where another Mirage defense can rotate in under them, and then they can focus their full force on this top floor and trying to take across. All they have to worry about is really the stairwells once they start getting over towards this area. So Parabellum's going to try and reassess the situation. Kool-Aid's moved himself over towards Geisha Balcony. He does indeed have one intel with him. That's going to be Blast for the moment. And with still half the round to go, there's so much for them to do, but definitely achievable with the amount of utility that they have, especially depending on how this goes with Nyx. 2 frag grenades out, they're both going to miss, and he's actually going to bandage. He's got it, no way, yep, absolutely. Very well done. The exothermic down, and Kool-Aid dead in the water for the moment.
Good hot denial from Nyx right there, a bit close in the timing, but he is able to make it work for himself, and a good thing, too, is it denies a huge amount of map control away from Parabellum now as a result of it. PB actually going to send a couple players back outside to go for a bit of a reset now and see if they can maybe find a better way to push themselves forward and clear out, once again, this extension, which is causing so much delay for PB.
Now, there's a massive difference in between these last 2 rounds, John. This one being that, well, there's not a single person dead on either team, but yet the timer continues to dwindle, and it's the delay that Mirage has had. They've played patiently. Yes, Kento's been given up, but now it's down to the last minute, and they have a very good opportunity to stand exactly where they are. Stand firm, and that's what Nyx is going to do. He'll take down Eska. That's going to at least equalize for the time. Now Parabellum, they have to reassess yet again, and since Melted's taken down Gunner, their top frag of the current stage, looking worse for wear. But finally, they'll be able to refrag that as well. Don't really have a place to put this case down just yet. Don't really know where the remaining members of Mirage even are.
They've been forced to just go for it, essentially, here. No real room left to play, no real time left to clear out the top downs either. Here, Benji ready for the challenge as Blaz tries to force the issue against him. He will get cut off on an exchange, but here's the problem now. Into a 2v2, there's not great positioning for anyone on PB, but Kool-Aid makes it through the dance regardless. He's going to be able to potentially get this case down on the ground. Needs Penguin to stay alive, and he'll succeed in doing so. Whereas that top player, though, they've already taken down the first. Nyx cannot find proper positioning to counter it out, so he's going to have to go down and duel this out in the 1v2. It was looking like Mirage had this locked down for sure, but no longer, as Kool-Aid and Penguin are able to breach their way into the site regardless. Nyx, he's here now, but does he have a safe path in? That's going to be the big problem for him. He's going to lack for intel. Should have been able to see a gun barrel there a second ago, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if he noticed it. Wrapping around the corner here, first target's going to present itself to him, but hasn't been able to isolate it. Doesn't even see Penguin further back in the site either, so PB shut down a second round.
MVP of the round? I'm not even joking. It has to be Blaz. because of the way that Blast died upstairs, his body literally laid across all of those angles.
Block that,
and it blocked all of the angles on the floor upstairs. You could only use the one angle to try and kill the person on the bomb chassis. I believe that's how that's set up just in general in the first place, but it definitely makes it to where they can't try and shut off a lot of the entry points, you know, around the actual barbecue site. They no longer have angles on it. They only have the one to look over the top of the bomb chassis. So super unfortunate there for Mirage, especially with how much time they waste. I mean, it's like 2 minutes and 15 seconds before we see that very first kill from Parabellum. You think Mirage has it in the bag, especially since they still have top floor control, but the angles ended up working out in the way of the offense.
Yeah, PBD unfortunately did not have great control over that situation. You can even see that as well, having to send one of their 2 players upstairs to trade out the person. As you said, Blaz there, who had to do it, holding that kind of top-down angle that would have shut down any attempt to push into the site. No longer could that be the case because of the body block from Blaz. Allowed those 2
players. I really can't
in.
believe that happened. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
It's more surprising that it worked more than anything, but obviously wasn't the intention, just kind of a circumstantial play, but works.
Strategic death.
Yeah,
strategic death.
Works out really well regardless for Parabellum, and is the saving grace to some extent that allows them into the site to get the case down onto the ground. So 2-0 lead for them. An unfortunate missed round for Mirage has forced an early tack pause from them as well, and another shift in site choices. They're going to go to the other side. Actually, never mind. They're going to be on bedroom. I thought we were upstairs at office, so another first floor hold coming out from Mirage here. And quite a dramatic shift in their operator choices as well, as they're going to try to go a little bit more site heavy with this, try to play around the utility a bit more.
You know, usually I'd be pretty frustrated with a timeout being called at a 2-0, but at the current moment, I feel like this is honestly a pretty good call for MRG. They're pretty discombobulated at the current moment. These last 2 rounds have not been going their way, especially given the circumstances of the early round. It's definitely got to be punishing to the mental. So a good reset here. We'll see how round 3 goes now as we'll reinsert Skyscraper, see if they can hold Parabellum back. And speaking of Parabellum, they haven't been changing up too much on this offensive lineup. They've been feeling very confident with this, especially after that opening round where they're able to take down so many Mirage members, at least initially, snowballing that into quite a few frags at the end of the day. Frag grenade out, speaking of which, it's not going to find too much, all except for the mute jammer up top. That will open up the single panel for the front office.
It's continuing to develop fairly slowly here as PB just lines up some opening bits of utility to knock out either players themselves holding positions for Mirage or the utility that's allowing them to support those positions here. So going to see the first wall being opened up, leading into the meeting room here and potentially exposing the position of at least one of our defenders. In this case, it'd be Melted there, sitting behind the meeting desk, but not going to get any direct challenge against him, not this early on anyway, so still has some time to play out from here while Parabellum builds up their courage to move in for the clear against him and a few other members of Mirage that are also sitting nearby.
Parabellum is doing a bang-up job of keeping themselves alive while also achieving all of these tasks around the site. They've gotten the walls open. They can start to focus on other greener pastures, like working their way in from T. Kento. Oh, that bullet tracer had to be right past Gunner's ear. Counting his lucky stars right now. He's taking control of Drum just with his sheer presence. Almost loses his head for it, though. It'll be a frag grenade in on the opposite side here for Blaz as he's attempting to deal with Shrine and Dragon. Doesn't have anybody into his right, so this should be a pretty easy hop as he'll try and influence any of the fights around the office space. Penguin's going to start pushing for Dry Bar here. Woody home, all except for one, but the crossfire now open. Obviously, the castle of Benji going to be feeling that, as he's actually going to be able to secure quite the kill onto Gunner, but he's going to get flooded with stuns now, and Kool-Aid might catch himself off guard. They're both going to hightail it out of there as they'll both run downstairs into the house part of the map.
PB with some upstairs control, but as you can see, it's a little bit claustrophobic for them to play around at the moment here, so they're going to work on expanding out from that. Unfortunately, not with a whole lot of time to do so. 45 seconds remain for them to at least start the process of putting a case down onto the ground, and as you can see, only just now taking some control over here towards Arsenal is really all they have to work with, so they're not really going to have a whole lot of time to build up for this grand execute here. Just have to kind of throw what their positions will allow them to do at the wall and hope that it sticks here. It's now only about 25 seconds remaining. You can see they're going to open up as many top downs as possible, and so unfortunate for Penguin. He second guesses whether there's going to be a frost trap there, ends up going down because of it. The good news is it isn't a safe area, so they can still get him up, but the damage to his health pool has been done regardless here. He's going to be fighting with 20 HP for the rest of the round. However, look at this, an easy walk-in for Kool-Aid, 0 resistance on the cross. Eska takes care of the only player trying to stop it. Marm as well as Kento, though, both find trades back against it. The plants are going to be able to hold on as Penguin survives for another kill against Marm, leaving Kento alone. He's been the MVP for this team in so many rounds, but not today.
Such a defendable spot that is apparently set up for a defender to play, but Mirage got just completely removed, evicted from the location, and Parabellum quickly moves in, gathers squatters' rights, I guess, and immediately picks up yet another round. And I mean, Mirage at the current moment, John, they're up the creek without the paddle, man. No timeouts, and now they have to try and work through this. They've flubbed 3 rounds in a row, and I don't see a bounce back in the near future.
It's not looking good at the moment here for Mirage. Already using their tactical pause as well means there's going to be no further moments of reprieve unless Parabellum would like to give over their pause, and they have no reason to do so at the moment, given that they're winning these rounds full steam ahead, and oftentimes with some last-second adjustments just to make it work, too. Parabellum are not even giving the cleanest show at the moment, but they're still able to make it work, and that's what's making up the difference right now and allowing for these 3-0s to come through.
Yeah, Parabellum is taking their time on these openers. They're waiting for Mirage to just get antsy. You know, they start peeking things, they start looking for a little bit too much and feeling like they have to make these heroic plays to win the round, when really what they need to do is just play as a team, play off of each other, and you're more than likely going to take those rounds when they're, you know, very low time and things along those lines. As long as you're able to refrag and maintain control, everything should be right as rain. Now, for Parabellum, they'll see if they can continue guiding this ship along as they're looking for Geisha at the current moment. Frag grenade in will tag up Nyx. He was going for quite a lot there, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. Look at how much Nyx has to accomplish at this current moment, but look, there's nobody around Nyx either. There's not a single person home. He got frag grenaded. He's trying to bandit trick this, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know if you know this, Parabellum has played this game before, and they know that Nyx is going to be there because he just did it 2 rounds ago. So it's just a little bit too much at the current moment, and they're getting caught off guard.
Yeah, PB have already figured out how to work through this. Executes it, pulling off that same trick twice is just not going to work here for Nyx. Gets read into, no utility support behind him, as you were mentioning, either, let alone player support, so he goes down without too much of a problem. Penguin struggling a little bit with this top-down battle, is able to throw some damage onto Marm, but Marm re-peaks it a second time as well, giving Penguin the foot shot he needed to knock out Marm from the round, and once again set PB up for a 5v3, still with half the round to play. 5v2 is now very realistic, although the second player on the flank might be able to save Kento's life. Smart moves from PB, though. They back up before things get too dodgy in that scenario.
It's so strange that Mirage has put so much weight onto Nyx's location, but then they also just don't reinvest into it. Gunner's going to take down 2 with the LMGE. He's looking for even more, can't get the third. Benji will take him down, but he's also the lone soul of Mirage, and he's dead as rights. So round 4 will take the way of Parabellum. And, I mean, it's just been a dominant performance from them overall. They're reading Mirage like an open book at the current moment. It's like they got a direct line to the spy network over on Mirage's side. So, without a timeout, they're going to have to try and figure this out themselves. And I'm telling you, it's really down to the team play that we're seeing from Mirage. There is no help when it comes to their coordination. They're all trying to accomplish so much at the current moment, especially with what we saw in that last round with Nyx inside of Geisha. That's just too much for one person. You've got nobody managing the window. He's trying to bandit trick the panel just to make sure that Parabellum can't control the top floor, which is arguably the most important part of that map. I mean, it's just, there's so many little aspects of it that Mirage are just not doing the greatest at that are really punishing them at the current moment.
As much as we love a good comeback story as well, things are unfortunately not looking like they're getting better for Mirage either. It looks like PB is getting more and more dominant as these rounds go further into it. Indeed, as Stokes is calling out right now, we've got quite a few repicks showing up for PB, including the Montaigne play from Penguin, as well as the Nook from Eska to potentially sneak into the building from another position and try to come in on a back flank as well. That's going to be from Barbecue Stairs, another position. Lots of options are open for Eska if he wants to support the usual balcony push from Penguin. That all depends on, of course, Parabellum executing that way, so we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case.
So that's the beauty of this lineup here. This is what it's intended for. Remember we were talking about this site the last time, and I was like, hey, you can either take from the east or the west, or you can go for something kind of like a Black Stairs take. That's what Monty's intended for here. You really want to take this northern side and start messing around until you can get a karaoke plan or something along those lines. Eska's here not only for the frag grenades, but also because he can sneak around while Monty pulls so much of the aggro from the defense. You have to pay attention to a Montaigne, otherwise you just risk dying. There's, you know, just a couple of seconds in between your life and death with that pistol in his hand. So we'll see how Mirage tries to work around this. It's going to start up by giving up Geisha. Nobody home this time around as Nyx has put himself over onto the Valkyrie. The only denial that they have happens to be melted.
So Nick's going to be setting himself up to try and challenge from the inside of that geisha window. Not going to find a whole lot of resistance to it, though, as this time, obviously, the plan's a bit different from PB. At the same time, the first of the Goyo charges, probably the only one near that northern part of the map going to go down, so that's the most potent form of delay that PB had, and it's already gone. Even worse, there is no... Okay, never mind. There is at least a mute chamber on the other side of this wall, so they've stopped the inevitable there. But still, probably not going to stop it for too long, given we've got this nade being prepped up for Eska a little bit late on that, and didn't even end up... Oh, no, it did get it. Okay, yeah, so that's going to pop it open there. Like I said, a little close for comfort, but still managed to get the job done. And now you got an easy walk-in for Penguin, and potentially a plant. Has to wait out this utility, though, and
it's
actually is going to burn him down quite low. This is going to be a bit of a tough plant now, especially with crosses being established against him. So obviously the shield is going to be a guaranteed immunity while he's planting, only on his backside, which won't necessarily be helping him, depending on the way he approaches this. Well,
so what we want to see out of Parabellum right here is to slow the game down and get all of Marm's utility out. They want to continue to buff up Laz, and that's what they were looking for. Marm could not commit to that because they had the cross set up here on the window, and this is where it's all just going to roll downhill from here. This is a snowball effect, folks. Melted will be able to at least take down one, but Benji's already pretty lit up. So is Melted. Penguin, he just has to sneak in through this crack in the wall and get a plant down. There's 2 nitro cells, but I don't believe anybody has the verticality from underneath to be able to stop him. Kanto does have the cross, and in fact, Benji is home. The plant's already going down. Do they have the stop? He's waiting, and Benji gets slapped off the map by Kool-Aid. He comes in on a moment's notice, removes the Mirage member. They don't even need a plant. It's all down to Kento, and he's dead too. Kool-Aid covering every base for this Parabellum squad.
Kool-Aid with some incredible timing in that situation, too. You guys saw that nitro being lined up. More than likely would have taken down the planter, but he arrives just in time to save the day, save the plant, and put his team into a winning position there, as PB looked already excellent with their ability to take control of the upstairs site, but that could have thrown things awry. Thankfully saved, though, by Kool-Aid, and he picks up the final kill of the round on his way back upstairs as well.
And these rounds have just got to be so very frustrating for Mirage, especially around like what we just saw right there, because right when you see the Monty over towards the top of Black Stairs, you know exactly how this round is going to play out, right? Like, okay, so what's our answer? Oh, no, we really don't have one? The problem...
Well, we'll get him with that nitro cell.
Yeah, well, the issue that they had with that is the fact of how little delay that they had overall. They had the Goyo, they also had the smoke, but when it comes to that shield play, you're really looking for trap operators. Legion would have been great there, Ella another solid pick, stuff like that that's able to try and hold them back or force them to give up a piece of utility like a Banshee. That's the kind of stuff that you're looking for in a situation like that, and unfortunately they didn't have that. They have the Goyo, they also have the smokes, but Marm was only able to use 2 of those out of the 3, but honestly, her death really doesn't matter that much there, given the timing. Each one of those smokes only denies 10 seconds, and when she dies, guess how much time is on the clock? 1 minute and 10.
Not to mention the fact that Parabellum executing as early as they did kind of negated most of the delay they would have had anyway, because they did have a good amount between Goyo and smoke and got to use most of it against the Monte. But because they started the execute, I think it was like before we even hit the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, that's the beauty of
it. They had all the time in the world to just bleed that out.
Exactly. You get on that balcony and you immediately come in the top of Black Stairs, because like you were saying, you're already practically in towards the site at like 2:15.
Yep.
You're already contesting them, and they have to give up utility to stop you. Otherwise, you're going to continue to work yourself forward and end up putting a case down, or just end up getting way too many kills where they're not going to be able to come back. But we're already about a minute in here, folks, as we ramble on around round 5. We're into round 6. So Crossfire here for Parabellum. They're already wrapping themselves around this outside balcony. But where's the rest of the squad at the current moment? We have a couple people over towards the west-hand side looking to come in from T and kind of crunch onto this Mirage defense. Nyx is going to be back onto the Frost, and I'm a little worried right now, Blue. I think he might have the Super 90. I don't know. He's got a pistol out. He still has a pistol out. Well, we're going to have to keep you guys updated about this.
Nope.
He does. Yes! Nyx, my boy. Oh, Nyx is now my favorite player to ever play Rainbow Six Siege. I just want you guys to know that. We'll see how the Super 90 goes. We'll just have to go.
Playing a staircase position with it right now, so we'll see if that comes to fruition in about 30 or 40 seconds here. We expect Parabellum to start pushing it against this. Problem's going to be, it's not looking like direct confrontation will be met against it anytime soon here. Oh, maybe Eska will potentially meet it in a moment. We'll have to hold up and wait on that, as there is some delay being built up for PB right now. They don't necessarily have the confidence to swing directly into this, and better yet, Mirage is keeping their positions a bit more obscure this time. So much so that Kool-Aid's actually going to get knocked out, and there's a big play from Melted to rush out as well. Marm as well as Melted are going to end up getting traded, however, so it doesn't lead to a whole lot for Mirage. Kool-Aid only going down. There is that shotgun as Nyx is able to make some use with it. First kill that thing has gotten in a pro setting in probably years as Eska goes down to it.
You know, there's a time, John, where semi-auto shotties in this game were potentially the most broken thing that I've ever played with in an FPS game. I'm talking like multi-wall, 2 shotgun shells and you kill somebody, but you only need a couple MP5K bullets to make the same result. Kento with a nice shot in Penguin. Now putting the plant down, speaking of which, but he's going to cancel that out as he's starting to get pressured. Lots of damage onto Penguin. Kool-Aid the same, but they both are able to stave off elimination. It's going to be a trade back and forth, but now Kool-Aid with so much to do inside of the 1 versus 2. He's found some safe harbor for the current moment. Doesn't have the case on hand, though. He's going to move back in towards site. Tries to go over for the bar, able to find one onto Kento. Goes for the swing now. Not able to secure it, though. Nix with the super 90. The CQC shotty takes him out. Mirage able to at least get one all off of the back of a shotgun we don't get to see, in my opinion, often enough.
I think pretty much everybody's giggling after the way that round played out there, but either way, Mirage will certainly be happy to field at least one for themselves. Things were looking very bleak. Let's not sugarcoat it. A very realistic 6-0 was put in front of us, but thankfully, they were able to figure things out for the final round of play. Now is going to surface the big problem, though. If we look back on the game, which we saw them win, still were only able to pick up a couple of the attacking rounds. 2 out of 7 of the rounds they won, in fact, were on the attack.
Ladies and gentlemen, I saw him go for the tablet, and in my head, I was like, he's got the receipts. Don't do this. No, no. But he pulls them. And yeah, indeed, dude, 2 rounds. It's not the greatest stat line. Not exactly what you want to hear the commentators say, but the big thing past that, though, they're just stats. Mirage could prove us wrong right now. It's any given Sunday, or, well, for us, it'd be any Tuesday or Wednesday, wouldn't it?
Charles be noted, too, that was 2 rounds out of a full half that was played. It's not like they played 2 rounds and the game ended on the 3rd. That was 2 rounds out of a full 6-round half. So
to talk about this, you have to stop.
I like giving bad news, so.
you'd be, what's the people that serve people?
A server?
Is it, no, not like at a restaurant, but the people that like give you papers
I know what you're talking about.
Is that a server? Are they also a server?
Hold on.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, past that, John gets us some details on that. Mirage is out and about for the very first time on their offensive side, and they've got a little bit of a different opinion on how to take this floor here. Whether it be the top floor or the bottom, you're still looking to do things in relatively the same pattern. This top floor, quite important to taking control of barbecue, so the OSA might be able to help with this.
That would be called a process server.
A process server. You'd be good at that. I could see that. Especially because, you know, you get to wear all like the different costumes and stuff. Like you could be like a McDonald's worker walking into Subway or something. Person behind the thing is like, oh, you've been served. Like, don't you? No? Yeah? Okay.
Sir, we serve you here.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into this round. See if PB is going to be able to recenter themselves quickly and look to resume the lead, which they've seemingly had for every other round in this game. Or will Mirage surprise us here with quite a few rounds being picked up on the attacking side and potentially a comeback to work themselves into here. We can see Laz with the interesting angle being worked against one of the window entries. Not going to become the focus, though, at least for Mirage. They're working on getting themselves in through the T-Room North entrance and then working down into BBQ from there.
Really liking what we're seeing from both of these teams right now. Loved Parabellum's setup, especially inside of booths. We're going to see the smoke get droned out, and then it'll back off. Frag grenade ready. Penguin might be in hot water here. Just depends on how this lands. Unfortunately enough, it lands right on that concrete wall. Oh my, he's going to swing back into the angle as well, being pressured from both sides, but nobody will hit their mark just yet, except for Blaz. He's actually going to get Kento killed as Penguin's going to swing back on the same window. Blaz will take down one more. And Mirage, they had the lead initially with Gunner, but now going into the last minute, it's looking like all PB yet again.
Got bunched up trying to access this part of the building here, as you're going to see issues start to surface for them. Penguin not going to be able to catch this jump in here, so that player, I believe that is going to be the Zofia from the attacking side here, so that should be melted into the building. Benji's been able to fend off Eska in the meanwhile here, won't be able to grab Blaz though, as he's able to trade it back for PB. Marm goes down as a result of that, leading us down into a 3v2. 45 seconds left though, so pretty good amount of time for Mirage to still play into, with the problem though being that Melted is now the only one left alive, stuck in a corner as well, so no real way to play that out. Another round up on the board, the 6th in fact for PB. As I said, just one more round away from closing it down.
Yeah, Mirage, it's just really, really hard to try and find something that's extremely positive for them at the current moment, because a lot of the decisions that they're making around the map are immediately punished by Parabellum. You know, especially with what we saw going on the downstairs level. You know, they're trying to break up booze and affect the defensive setup on the base floor. But Parabellum play off of each other so very well that they end up killing the Finca. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, situations like that aren't something that you see very often. Usually when you end up having a defenseman pressured into a corner where they're not really allowed to move, the offense will kind of work around that player and end up getting that pick. But that's not what we're seeing from Mirage. It's a lot of pressure down low, but it ends up just flicking that shoe to the other foot, and immediately PB double back down and are able to take out Mirage because of it. What looked like a Mirage round, yet again, this is like the 4th time we've had this, quickly turns into a Canadian round.
So unfortunate for Mirage is they are not able to center themselves well enough to be able to close out on quite a few of these rounds. Should have been a closer game, but just hasn't worked out that way. Parabellum now sitting at map and match point. Only one more needed to be able to shut this one down, and they're going to go on to, generally speaking, the most defender-sided site we tend to see on this map from the times we've experienced it, and it's going to go upstairs in a T room.
In the T room, indeed, my friend. And the big thing is that Mirage aren't going to have the same operator lineup that we saw from Parabellum when they were able to convincingly take this top floor with their Monty take on Black Stairs. Instead, Mirage more than likely looking to clear from east to west, but obviously they're more than likely going to have their own opinion about this. It's really just how they use these Flores drones of Nyx. That'll be a telltale sign of the way they want to try and break down this top floor.
See Mirage start to build themselves up first into the meeting room side. Parabellum hears that. They don't necessarily see it yet, but they're going to respect it regardless. Both players that were positioned out towards this entrance are now going to back away, start to set themselves up closer to the drum contention point where there is a little bit of a choke that Mirage is not going to be able to easily work their way past. Keep in mind, of course, Parabellum playing heavily into the mitigation game here, wants to draw this back to the site and draw out the time as long as possible. And even worse news here now. As we've seen the first kill come onto the board, it's been against the Lions, so that's most of the attacker's intel game, now dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's mostly it, Blue. There's no real way for them to slow down Parabellum if things start to go very wrong here in a couple of moments, and that's quite scary for Mirage. Those EE1Ds were worth their weight in gold, and probably more than that at the current moment as Mirage are trying to stage a comeback. But the problem past that is Mirage has taken so much time to get in this side of the building. Look at Parabellum's lineup if you guys haven't just yet. They have Thorn as well as Romai and Jaeger, Mute Jammers and Smoke. All of this delay is built up to this central area, like we've been talking about all the time with Sky, to make sure that they can play around these shields and delay even more time on top of this. Look at all of this utility that Mirage is having to burn just to move forward, and Blue, there's still a deployable shield here, and it gets Goyoed, or rather ADS. It's going to be a Nitro out, and Penguin will go down, but now it's going to be a trade back to Gunner.
Mention the whiff nade as well, which is going to leave that shield present as a result of it. Player's gone down, not even going to get the opportunity to throw out the rest of the kit, so unfortunate start to it here for Mirage as they're now just trying to brute force their way into the site to set up some form of staging ground on the outskirts of the site, but have not been able to find it. Some good damage in response to Blaz's peak a few seconds ago, but that's really it. Look at the damage that Nyx as well as Melted have taken in response to it, and because of the loss of Kento a few moments ago, they no longer have the Adrenal Surge advantage here, so they can't bring those players back up to full or near full HP. Here's a big play being built up by Nyx, though, creeping up towards the site, but it's going to get spotted by Kool-Aid. Shuts it down. Marm taking some heavy heat as well, but Melted able to at least pick one up. It won't matter, though. Eska and one additional player from PD shut it down, and it's a quick win today here for the members of Parabellum as they take control of this matchup 7-1.
Mirage not identifying the setup from Parabellum on defense and utilizing attacker repick seriously punished them right there. They did not have the means to work through all of that